You've talked a lot about humans being versus humans doing. A practice to make that happen might be going from trying to do 11 things down to only doing one, but doing it at your true human potential.
Yeah.
That's a curious thought pattern for me.
I know, right? For someone who does, I think...
Too much.
I mean, when you and I...
Logical overachiever.
And I think that what's beautiful about you, you're an athlete. You're a world-class athlete. And when you give yourself permission to see how you can take that world-class physiology and put it into your work discipline, you're like, wow, this is interesting. A different type of limitation, a different type of humility. And I think what I've always loved about you is your honesty about when enough is enough and when I'm going to go ahead and like do something brand new. Why? Because I need a reservoir of peace. I need a reservoir of deeper presence. And that's heroic to do these days. And I think for times in my life where I've been extraordinary at doing, my being was suffering. Only every time. Every single time my being was suffering. And what I'm working on more and more these days, and yes, taken me 6 decades to figure this out, I really love the pace of my life when it's present. So much more than when it's frenetic or highly accomplished or people going, wow, look at all the things you do. No, I want to look at the way you be.
Right.
It's so much more important than look how you do.
Yeah.
And I'm working on that. And I can get the drug of dopamine going, and dirty dopamine is as lethal as it sounds.
Yeah.
And it gets us into this place where our ego starts saying, we can do anything and everything. And I think, you know, as you kind of launch this whole experience for your community, giving high achieving people an opportunity to not feel like it always has to be achievement, always. And what can an achievement look like if it was through a different lens of being versus doing?
Process over outcome.
Yeah. Presence over product.
When we make that shift, is there a difference in our physiology? What happens metabolically when we do this?
Well, you and I could geek out on the chemistry, so let's do that. Let's do that. I feel like the cortisol is such an interesting chemistry for more and more people because it drives energy, but too much cortisol over time drives inflammation and disease and depression and anxiety. And knowing that sweet spot of leveraging cortisol to get good things done, but not leaning on it all day, so you find yourself at the end of the day depleted and recovery is nowhere to be found. And over time, the diminishing returns of being a person who has really found themselves in the chemistry of overdoing and not enough recovery. And I was talking yesterday in my presentation about something called raw dogging, which it's not scientific. It's a great word. It makes you go like, what is that? But when you, Greg, like when people see you meditate, like let's say that Adam, you know, your son sees you meditating and he also sees you in the cold water in the middle of December in Lake Ontario. And he's like, wow, my dad. Having that sharp contrast of being that guy first thing in the morning out there and the whole lake is empty except for you, which is an interesting type of cortisol experience. And then the cortisol experience, it gets a chance to have a recalibration when you get home and you wrap up in a blanket and you sit still. It's this beautiful interval lifestyle that I'm really becoming much more fascinated by. High intensity interval training is very famous in our space, but how about high interval intention training? Where I am going from something extraordinarily difficult to coming back to something that is equally difficult. But the contrast is absolutely vast.
Peak performance, deep rest.
Deep rest. Giving everything you've got and doing everything to let go.
How do we let go? What are some practices that people could install into their lives? We'll talk about peak performance in a moment. I know where I want to take that. But I'm curious about letting go because I actually think that deep rest piece sets you up for high performance. When you're burned out, you can't go there. Yeah. So how do we let go? How do we deeply recover? What are some things we can do?
The things that, and you and I, it's so funny, Greg and I this morning, we both got up and saw each other. We're like, how much did you sleep last night? 8.5 hours. When did you go to bed? 8 o'clock. I mean, there's the beginning.
Right? Our 21-year-old selves would be disgusted with the situation.
We'd be like so lame. We'd be so lame in the eyes of our community. Yeah. And I think that's where it begins is that There's this beautiful word that I learned about years and years ago. The word is Bushido, which is the samurai word for samurai warriors have this word, which basically means this is my absolute code of conduct. This is the world that I live in, and nothing gets in that isn't going to make me proud, isn't going to help me to be at peace and perform at my best when I need to.
Right.
The Bushido is a lot of saying no. It's a lot of saying no to the things that could be equally interesting and stimulating, and oftentimes even more so. But like last night, you and I going, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and be in bed at 8 o'clock when this amazing thing is happening until 11, 12 o'clock at night. And it's all our friends, people that we love. But it's heroic to go, no, that's not what I'm going to do tonight. I'm actually going to be myself, and I'm going to wake up in the morning and have an unusual amount of presence and the kind of fulfillment. You wake up and go, I'm going to kick ass today.
Yeah.
Because you look at your aura score, you look at the pillow that you didn't move in 8 hours on, you're going, I know that my best version of myself is guaranteed today.
Yeah.
Because I laid down the foundation that started with a no.
Right.
And the no leads into things like, wow, once I wake up and say to myself, I'm going to blast off and grab a whole bunch of coffee because I didn't say no. You're actually using a breathing practice in lieu of a whole bunch of coffee. Yeah. And there's another no to stress, but yes to, oh my goodness, my regulation, my nervous system, my cortisol gets appropriate use right now versus trying to be pulled into a place just to get me up and get me going. And I think the thing that I'm learning more and more about, Greg, that I really love, and I think this is maybe a little bit off, but I want people to really hear that you and I know this. If you've been through trauma in your life, and a lot of us, and a lot of high performers have this in common.
Yeah.
Something is driving us that isn't healthy. And we can never do enough to earn our love or earn our health or earn our worthiness. Setting a tone for what I love to say is this beautiful vertical coherence. It starts in your heart. And really asking yourself, what gives you that sense of peace? And then have that be your primary practice. So if it's sleep, if it's heart rate variability, breath work, if it's cold water, don't do it as a performance experience. Do it as a peace performance measure first.
Wow.
Because peace always trumps performance.
Yes.
Every time. For us that have trauma and are working through our own healing experience, which is really about self-acceptance and really loving ourselves when we're not performing, that is a heroic effort these days. But the beautiful force multiplier that it becomes for your performance is absolute.
As you're describing that, I think of gymnast Simone Biles and that image that I showed yesterday.
Yeah. Wow. I started tearing up immediately because you know what that takes.
Yeah.
I don't know what it takes because I'm not Simone Biles and wow. But I think as anyone who's been up against something and the voices are coming in and just
right, but she's settling herself down for people who are listening. There's an image, and it's of Simone Biles, gymnast at the Olympic Games. In between events, she's sitting down, meditating. In between her events,
what that takes to be that heroic, to go inside to that degree when so much is going on around
20,000 people staring at you.
With all the chatter of what's going to happen past Olympics, where is she, who is she she still have it, GOAT, all the stuff.
Yeah.
GOAT.
Trauma, abuse, all the things.
All the things. And how heroic it was for her to be that citadel in the storm.